All right, let's go ahead and get started, team. Like to once again thank you so much for joining our next quick demo series, webinar series. And as I said, it's just a chance to click in, learn, and click back out in under 30 minutes. So it's a fantastic format to learn some stuff and not waste your day. So today we are on our next quick demo series, and today we'll be talking about retaining compounds and sealants, gasket sealants and pipe sealants. So we're excited to share this information with you. And excuse me, I'd like to introduce myself as Mark Porter. I'm product manager for H.B. Fuller, and I support the GorillaPro product line. Paul, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Paul Allibone. I'm one of the H.B. Fuller business development managers, and I also support the GorillaPro MRO product line.
Fantastic. Morgan?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Morgan Flynn. I work at H.B. Fuller as a marketing analyst, and like Mark and Paul, I also support the GorillaPro product line.
Thank you. Yeah, Morgan is the glue that holds us all together. No pun intended. Well, pun intended. No, thank you for that. So once again, this one is on retaining compounds. This webinar is on retaining compounds and sealants today. Want to remind you that this will be recorded, and towards the end we will once again remind you of that and where you possibly can see this recording at the end. Paul, I think we're ready to go for this particular edition. One thing I wanted to remind everyone is that we do, and we will remind you at the very end as well. Our GorillaPro.com is our website, and if you have questions on that, we'll show you again. But please go to there. It is a very interactive website with resources and questions and anything that you may have. So GorillaPro.com. For all your questions. And most importantly, at the bottom of the screen is a chat box. If you have questions along the way today, please just type them in the chat box. And at the very end, Paul and I are going to take questions and hopefully answer all the questions that may have. So sorry, I almost forgot that. But yeah, so just type those chats in. You can type those chats in, your question under that chat box anytime during the webinar, and we'll get to them at the end. So with that said, Paul, you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to roll. Hey, just remember this time, fasten your seatbelt, dude, okay?
I always forget that. Sorry. Let's jump in your car then.
Hello, I'm Mark Porter, Marketing Manager with H.B. Fuller and GorillaPro Products.
And I'm Paul Allibone, one of our business development managers for the H.B. Fuller GorillaPro product line. Welcome.
All right, you said that so well.
I've been
such a professional.
I've been doing it enough times.
So we're happy to have you here with us today. Today we are going, in our quick demo series, we're going to talk about 2 or 3 products in our anaerobic product line. Now previously we've talked about the entire anaerobic product line and how it all fits with the thread lockers, retaining compounds, and sealants. And today we're going to talk about specifically retaining compounds and our pipe sealant and our anaerobic gasketing products. So starting off the day, we're going to actually start off with our retaining compounds. So keep in mind, what is a retaining compound and what is it used for? Well, as most of you know, retaining compounds, often called bearing mount. I remember in the old days they used to say, hey, you got some bearing mount? And you'd go, what's bearing mount? It's retaining compound. So what is it exactly? Well, it's a product, an anaerobic product that seals non-threaded cylindrical applications. Now you can use it on threads. It's very strong, but you can use it on threads, slightly stronger than a thread locker would be. But for the most part, it's used for non-threaded cylindrical applications. What are those? Well, bushings, bearings,
sleeves, impellers, shafts, all those types of applications.
Gosh, you name it. Yeah, there's a lot of them out there and commonly used with these types of things. Now, so what do we have in the GorillaPro line? Well, we actually have two products that really fit the bill for anything you would need. 50 ml bottles. Once again, color coordinated cap and label. You can see that you can instantly see across the shop exactly what you're looking for. We have two products. We have the AR200. Now this AR200 would actually be considered our press fit product. So it's a little bit lighter in viscosity, a little bit runnier, I guess you would say. And that's for a reason. We use this pretty typically for anything in no pun intended, a press fit application or something that has like a 5/1000 or below clearance.
Yeah, where you've got a very tight tolerance that you're dealing with.
So a lot of times that encompasses two different things. So one is, a very close or tight tolerance, and the other one is a press fit tolerance. So a lot of times you'll see an application where you'll actually have a actual press fit application where they're going to press that in with machinery. So this product, this AR200, actually augments the press fit application and provides an extra strength for that. So the sister product to this, which is basically the same product, a little bit thicker, is our AR250. Now the AR250 is our slip fit product. So where would you use that, Paul?
On parts where you've got a larger tolerance between your parts, where you need to fill up a bigger gap between the parts.
Yeah, so gap filling. You would anything up to like 15/1000 clearance, where you have sloppy play or loose play. This would be the ticket. This particular product. So when you look at these, actually now, from a standpoint of viscosity levels, you notice that the AR200, like I said, a little bit more liquidy, provides a really good augmented fit into press fit or tight tolerance applications. And then the AR250, so the slip fit application, a little bit thicker product. You notice that it's not quite as runny, very thick, and once again, gap filling applications where you would need that type of thing.
And even under a heavy press fit, you're not getting 100% metal to metal contact. So where you do get the metal mating, the anaerobic actually seals the other parts that are open and things to give you 100% integrity.
Exactly. Okay, so what are some of the other applications? Some of the applications that we have. Well, actually we have a really good example of what we would consider more of a press fit type application or a tighter tolerance application with this pin and collar set right here. So you notice we'll do a demo here for you real quick and show you, sort of how this works. So you actually take the AR200 and you would want to put this on the actual application itself. And when you do that, you'd probably want to put it around the bolt just a little bit, get enough on there that's going to fill that gap within the sleeve itself. And then you'd want to rotate that slightly. And what rotating does is actually distributes that retaining compound throughout that cylindrical application. And then you just let that sit. Now that will actually bond to an extremely strong bond, and alone by itself actually would be suffice to keep that bearing mount together, or that sleeve and collar together. So, all right, so Paul, what else you got?
Well, we've got the GorillaPro AS10 anaerobic pipe sealant with TFE. Now, this is an anaerobic pipe sealant, and you've got the TFE lubricant that allows for great thread engagement, extra turns to hold your pipe, actually tapered threads as opposed to straight threads for the thread lockers. But the anaerobic sealant, the anaerobic pipe sealant, not only is a great lubricant, but it's a true sealant because it sets up to a low strength but high pressure barrier against fluids and air pressure. So it's optimum to replace products like Teflon tape and pipe dope. And the product is very heavy, and it's in our 35 mil pump applicator, so it's very convenient for MRO applications, for quick assembly and things like that, very portable.
And you mentioned that has PTFE. PTFE, for those of you who don't know, is a lubricant. It's something, so basically this is two things, as Paul said. This is a sealant and a lubricant. And why is it that this would be a lubricant as well, Paul?
Well, the PTFE is very slippery and allows for great thread engagement. So when you have the tapered threads, it's very thick, number one, fills the space very well, but then allows for the faces of the threads to slide past each other, so you can get maybe an extra turn or two to really snug up your pipe or your fittings or your nipples. So it's very smooth and creamy. Pipe dope is nothing but an oil and fragments of Teflon or PTFE, and they also can contaminate hydraulic systems and things like that, get inside intricate equipment, clog filters and things. So this is the optimum type of pipe sealant.
So is that the same thing as Teflon tape then?
No, it's like Teflon tape on steroids if you think about it. Teflon tape is simply a lubricant. So you put the film of the Teflon tape or the PTFE tape, so to speak, you put that on the pipe, and it allows you to snug up the pipe. I mean, it's not very convenient to use, but allows you to snug up the pipe, but it does not cure in place to give you that high pressure seal. So you can back it off just as easy as you can put it on. Now the anaerobic, once it's in place, gives you a burst pressure almost 10,000 PSI. So the integrity is fantastic, but it's a whole lot easier to use, and a lot of shops would use Teflon tape and pipe dope because neither one work that well independently of each other. So for optimum sealability, optimum performance of your pipes, or for your piping equipment, your plumbing equipment, the GorillaPro AS10 is a great offering for you.
You know, if I could add one thing too, Paul, on the Teflon tape, a lot of people don't know is originally designed as a lubricant. So when you actually go to put it on, and you sort of noticed here, when you go to put it on, there's a lot of issues that you can run into with Teflon tape. Number one, when you go to put it on and then you put your pipe on, if you have to back off and reposition that pipe, you literally are supposed to completely rewrap it.
Yeah,
because when you reposition it, this is what happens: is it gets stringy, and the effectiveness of it completely goes away.
Or if you have poor engagement, you miss lining up the threads, you actually cut the Teflon tape and you got to redo it, like you had mentioned.
The other thing I think that you mentioned briefly is when you use Teflon tape like this, these little fragments actually can get into hydraulic filtration systems. And if you've ever seen someone that you don't want to talk to, it's an angry maintenance technician that has to clean out a hydraulic filtration system full of Teflon tape. So, and it happens all the time. So, in other words, the product Paul was talking about here actually eliminates that.
Yeah, that's the AS10. And then to round out the product group, we have our Foreman Place anaerobic gasket maker.
Yeah, so the anaerobic gasket maker is a tremendously efficient product. If you have things like hydraulic pumps, water pumps, anything with a heavy flanged area, and you're using a lot of cut gaskets, if you go into most of the maintenance shops out there, you'll see a wall of cut gaskets, whether they're rubber or cork or any kind of combination of different materials on these cut gaskets. In many cases, an anaerobic gasketing material such as our anaerobic gasket AG101 will basically, sometimes mostly, eliminates that need. Now this is in this convenient dispense tube, as we've talked about before. So you notice that you can actually put this on and it will actually run and do a complete gamut for you. And one of the biggest things you want to do is just make sure that you run a complete bead around with no air pockets to eliminate that. But one thing that is probably the most important thing on anaerobic gasketing materials is that when you use this in comparison to a cut gasket, Paul, if you have an imperfect surface, any piece of metal, even if it was machined, is imperfect to start with. And if it's a used pump or a used hydraulic system, that metal starts to get deep little wells in it, okay? So cut gaskets will only cover over the top of that, allowing moisture to get, or air to get underneath that.
So you actually get compression setting when you clamp down the flange bolts to unitize the flange. The cork or the composite gasket will set, and then under loosening, you know, of motion and use and things like that, you will find little seams of leak areas.
Yeah, so with an anaerobic gasketing product anyway, it will actually get down into those minor little imperfections, microscopic imperfections, and completely seal and unitize your system.
And to give you an idea what the anaerobic gasket maker looks when it's cured, so in metal flanges, hard metal, rigid surfaces, it'll actually cure to a plastic gasket, an anaerobic plastic gasket. You can see this, you'll probably see it on the inlay when we take the picture, but between the metal surfaces, the liquid anaerobic forms a plastic barrier, a plastic gasket in place on your machinery and your equipment.
So anyway, that is our retaining compounds and our sealants. Like we said before, something that most shops use on a regular basis. All right, so now that you've seen these products in action and you've found a few that you want to purchase, all you have to do is go over to our website, and that website is GorillaPro.com to order these products. You'll see a button at the top right corner that says Products. If you click on that Products, it'll instantly pull down to several categories of our products, and you just choose the one that you want. And after that, you pull down and you find the product that you want, and there is a menu down there of distributors that you can order that from. Once you find the distributor that you want to order that from, all you have to do is hit the buy button, and that buy button will take you right to the distributor location where you can very easily order that product. And also, if you're wanting more information about our products, such as technical information or anything further beyond what we've described today, that's easy as well. All you have to do is go up to our upper right corner and hit Resource button. That Resource button will actually pull you down to 3 boxes, and if you look at the left box, it says Downloads. Now, Downloads will take you to all of our literature that we have, including technical data sheets, safety data sheets, cell sheets, and stuff. And then you just choose the category you want. If you want a technical data sheet, you pull down, and then you find the category you want to have a technical data sheet on, pull it up, and there it is. And that will be saved. You can save that to electronic file format. You can email it, you can save it, you can print it, you can do whatever you want with that. So it's that easy. Thank you very much. All right, so thank you very much for joining us today and in our discussion of retaining compounds, anaerobic retaining compounds, and anaerobic pipe sealant and anaerobic gasketing products. Stay tuned for other quick demo series lines of things. We're going to go over various different things like different products, different applications and such. But tune in, stay tuned on our website and our communication, and hope to see you again in the future.
Yes, thanks for all your time and your interest. And again, we're going to turn things over for some Q&A so we can hopefully answer some questions for you.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for holding on, everyone. And we're going to Paul and I are going to take some questions now and answer any questions that anybody has. Once again, we have that chat function at the bottom of the screen, and please type in questions that you may have, and we'll certainly answer those. We've had a few questions that have come in. One of them, Paul, and you and I get. And I'll let you take this question. You and I get this a lot out in the field, but the question is it okay to use Teflon tape with your anaerobic pipe sealant?
Oh no, I would never recommend that, because it just interferes with the way the anaerobic is going to work. It's like the film barrier between the metal parts. So the best is an anaerobic adhesive sealant for those piping and fitting applications. as opposed to Teflon tape, and certainly as opposed to Teflon tape in conjunction with pipe dope, because neither of them are working up to snuff for that application.
Yeah, and if I could add one thing too, and it's so important, especially if you're working in an industrial maintenance type situation where you have hydraulic systems, especially. It's so important to understand pipe sealants because of the fact that there are really three different types of things you can do out there. One is a straight Teflon tape, and if you keep in mind during the webinar, we mentioned the fact that Teflon tape is nothing more than a lubricant. It was really never designed as a sealant. People use it as a sealant just because of its viscosity and such. But it really, from a stringy standpoint, in there is very ineffective as a sealant, especially by itself. That's number one. Number two is what's pipe dope, and I'll remind everyone that pipe dope is nothing more than oil mixed with PTFE fragments. So when you get that, it's an oil. So anytime you're using an oil of any kind, there's chance of water washout. There's chance of it not effectively sealing in certain parts of that threaded assembly. There's a lot of issues that can go wrong with that. Most importantly is age. If you're using an oil product like a pipe dope, the longer that sits there, the harder and crackier it gets underneath there, and the less effective it is long-term for sealing out a pipe. That's why you'll notice on a lot of factories, if you go through, you'll see a lot of leakage in the pipes that are coming down, and probably the reason for that is they didn't use the proper pipe sealant in the first place, or B, they used a pipe dope, and it's just simply ineffective after long-term effect. The reason that, and I'll remind everyone, the reason that a anaerobic pipe sealant like the one we showed today, our AS10, is so effective is because it is an anaerobic product. So what is that? That develops into a plastic which seals out those threads and has micro particles of Teflon in it. And why is that so important? It's so important because if it leaks into the hydraulic system, if you have Teflon tape that leaks into it, or if you have pipe dope that leaks into it, you're going to get your hydraulic filter clogged up. And the maintenance crew has to literally go in and clear those hydraulic filters on occasion from Teflon tape that's actually on there. Our anaerobic pipe sealant won't do that. The microparticles are designed to filter through the hydraulic filtration systems, and you won't get the clogging of the filtration system that you wouldn't. So a lot of reasons and benefits to only use the anaerobic pipe sealant and not use the Teflon tape with it. So Paul, anything to add to that?
No, you summed it up. You passed down a lot of information, so I'll leave it there.
Yeah, that's so important, and I can't stress that strong enough. We get that a lot in the field, and you still get a lot of people that will use the Teflon tape with it. If you use the Teflon tape with it, it's really an unadded, unnecessary step when you're using our anaerobic gasketing product. So, Paul, the other question that I'll let you to answer as well is in regards to the gasketing product. If they typically have the question is if I have a cut gasket, can I use the anaerobic gasketing product with that cut gasket?
And actually, that would be a no, because the anaerobic gasket making material forms the gasket when it cures. So if you've got a cut gasket in there, it's back to the analogy with the Teflon tape. Can you use Teflon tape with the anaerobic pipe sealant? And no, it interferes with it, because you want rigid metal surfaces where the anaerobic will polymerize. It'll go from a liquid monomer to a solid polymer and actually form the gasket. So it's a plastic gasket, which is, very impervious to oils and fluids and things of that nature. And it just makes an excellent barrier for fluids, anything that's internal in the engine, in the axle, in the housing and things, as opposed to a, pre-cut gasket.
Paul, I'm going to let you answer the next one. Can the AS10 be utilized for natural gas piping, and does it carry the certification? Is the question.
I'd have to look into the actual certification for natural gas. I'm not familiar with that. I've not been asked that before, but it'll seal natural gas. It'll seal gasoline. It'll seal air. It'll seal, water, fluids, et cetera, et cetera. But we can, maybe get back if there is like a cert that you need or something like that, but it's totally compatible with that type of application because it will seal very, very well. The only area where you would not use it is on an oxygen system because it's not compatible with the oxygen and it's not recommended.
Great answer. Thank you, Paul. And the next one I'll take, it's from Brandon. The question is, if I need to service and clean a metal surface that has a cured sealant, what product would you recommend? That's a great question. And, it's always better to work on clean surfaces, clean and dry is the catch terms that they use. Clean and dry surfaces always work better with sealants. If you need to clean off the sealant, typically, a dried sealant, the best way to do it is to just pop it off or try to chisel it off if it's not coming off on its own. Once you get all the hard, crusty sealant off of there, probably use something that's not going to leave a film on the surface. And keep in mind, any products that have like an oil base or something like that may leave a film on the surface. So I would use like an MEK or an acetone or a cleaner such as that's going to evaporate off after you use that cleaner, and just make sure that as much of that surface is clean and dry as possible, and then you can go ahead and use that surface again. So Paul, anything to add to that?
No, I mean, once the gasketing material sets up, or once the pipe sealant, anaerobic pipe sealant material sets up, it's a hardened acrylic plastic. You can remove it with abrasion and scraping and things like that, maybe a little bit of cleaner and things like that. But then you can reuse your parts. If the parts are too old, if there's mismatched threads or there's too many grooves in the metal flange, you may want to consider using some new parts and things like that. But Mark pretty much summed it up and stuff. You got to mechanically remove it from the parts.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. And for the sake of our time, we're going to fulfill our promise and say that we're going to keep this under 30 minutes. And we're right on that edge right now. So I will remind everyone that if you have any further questions, Paul and I are constantly monitoring our email, which is GorillaPro@hbfuller.com. And please feel free to email us anytime. We'll take your questions, answers, and give you the answers that we need. We'll set up demos if you want to have us out in your shop and to recommend. We'll certainly make that happen. In fact, we look forward to that. Otherwise, go to our site, GorillaPro.com, and you'll find all the answers. So once again, thank you so much for joining us today, and we appreciate your attendance, and we're always here for you. So reach out if you have any further questions, and we'll get back to you. So Paul, thanks so much. Morgan, thank you so much. And we'll all see you next time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody.